like you see it in my school. So the first year that I joined as a freshman, or like came into school as a freshman, you couldn't go on a particular track in terms of journalism. So they used to be that you were on a broadcast track, you were on a print track, you were on a photojournalism track, whatever it was. Now everyone's under the same umbrella of multimedia journalism. And what they're trying to do with that is just establish everyone and make everyone versatile, because versatility is important as ever right now. Like, you have to be able to write. You have to be able to talk in front of a mic. You have to be able to be on camera. You have to be able to edit and do social media. Like, all these things are part, no matter what, no matter if you're a writer or a broadcaster, you all have to do all those things. So that's where the direction's going in terms of the versatility aspect. And that's something I've been working on as I prepare for a career in this field. The other thing is, there's no question the direction the sports media landscape is going is podcasts. I mean, I think people listen to and even watch podcasts more than they're even watching TV sometimes. I mean, like I talked about Bill Simmons and the Ringer Network. Bill Simmons obviously owns the Ringer. He has a great sports podcast called the Bill Simmons Podcast, and he was so ahead of the podcasting game. I mean, he was doing it in the early 2010s, like late 2000s. And like, he's talked about how bad it was in the beginning and how much better he has thousands of episodes later. But it's just so interesting. He was so ahead of the curve, and everyone was like, what even is this? Like, people probably weren't even listening in the beginning. And now he has one of the number one sports podcasts in the world, and has created his own business off a podcasting network. So that's really the direction the industry is going. And then the other thing with that is, there's a lot of like athlete created media now more than ever. You know, a lot of people saw the media as like that middleman to reach the fans, to reach the public. A lot of athletes don't think they need that anymore. And athletes are creating their own podcast as current athletes and as former athletes, and they're incredibly popular because everyone wants to hear the athlete's perspective. So in some ways, that middleman as the media person is being left out.
That's very interesting, specifically in sports, because, you know, back in the day, whenever that day was, like, if you had to get a voice across, you had to get on the radio, you had to get on TV, you had to be interviewed by someone who's actually established. Where, you know, nowadays anybody can do a podcast, anybody can be what you see on TV.
Absolutely.
In terms of broadcasting, or like the professional way. And, you know, like, we're just here. I'm in my apartment talking. Like, obviously one day I want to be in a professional studio and soundproof and all that. But like, I have this kind of content with my own style. There's no one telling me how to do it. I don't sit here and talk, all right, Sam, tell me about your podcast. I'm very interested. Like, you know, I don't have that broadcaster voice. I have my very own style. So when you do your podcast, do you find that you are a character, or are you trying to be what you grew up on with a broadcaster? Because those podcasts too, that traditional media is never going to go away. It's going to bleed into podcasting, but half of podcasting is also just two dudes with microphones just shooting the breeze.
Yeah, I think those are the most popular podcasts now.
Definitely.
I think people see right through when you're trying to put on a broadcaster voice, you're trying to be too professional. I mean, no one's interested in that. It's boring. And that doesn't draw people in anymore in the way that it used to on like a typical Sports Center broadcast. I mean, like the Sports Center broadcast now, like Scott Van Pelt is a great host, great dude, University of Maryland alum. But he's not just some typical Sports Center anchor that there was back in the day of just straightforward to the point. I mean, he offers his own perspective, his own authenticity, not using his particular voice or whatever. And I think if you do that, people are drawn away, especially podcasting. When you're listening to the voice, like no one wants to hear that. So I mean, that's something someone's always told me about being in front of a mic, is just be authentic, be yourself. And that's what I've tried to do. And that's how I approach podcasting when I'm on.
Did you hear what he said there? There's a key word he said there: authentic. You gotta be authentic. I'm gonna leave you with that. No plugs, no nothing. I'll leave all the description down below, you know, plug. But that's what I'm gonna leave you with. Be authentic.